Okay, guys. If you guys are ready, then we can start or wait for a little bit to others to join. Or shall we start now? Silence. Mhm. So then, shall we start now?
Okay.
Okay, today's class is gonna be about midpoint of circle drawing algorithm of Burton's and algorithm. All right. So if you guys remember that we have spoken or talked about and practiced about Burton's and straight line drawing, right, from our last class. And today is gonna be about the circle and eclipse drawing algorithm. And um, just to be clear and give you a note that from next class we're gonna do a lecture class and practice. I mean, a tutorial class together after the finishing up with the lecture. All right. Otherwise, we will not be able to make it on the time for our all classes. All right. So just to let you know that from our next class, we're gonna do some tutorial and lecture together. Right? We might wanna be a bit late from the class, but we have to catch up. All right, guys. Okay. I don't see plus or okay, 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 okay. Only two of you. All right. For those that the rest of you who were late, you're gonna guys catch up with the recorded video later on, all right? And we're gonna move on with our class right now. So in our program, it's gonna be oh my god, hold on a second. Yeah, yes. Oh my. All right. Give me a second. Let me check my presentation for now. Okay, I'm sorry for the inconvenience and making you guys wait. There was some problem with the presentation. All right. Okay. How about you guys tell me about what you have learned previously from my handsome algorithm? Anyone can tell me or explain me if you guys remember, because this is gonna be a bit different than straight lines because it's a circle line and ellipse lines. All right. From For the next lecture, I mean the tutorial, we're gonna learn how to draw a circle line and ellipse line, and I'm gonna give you a little bit of testing for you guys to practice. All right? Does anyone can hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. For those who is gonna miss out, right? This is gonna. I mean, from this all, gonna be your depend on your exams. All right. So, please be conscious about this, and I mean, follow up my what am I saying. All right. Because from next semester, I'm not gonna be with you guys, so you're gonna be by your own. All right. Yunus, was it you?
Sorry, what?
Yeah, I was asking about the Birmingham Street Line, all right? And what have you learned, or how can you explain something about it? Because uh, this kind of be a bit important because this is not a straight line, but this is um, circle lines. And I've seen that you have messaged me about the Python, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I'm really sorry about that because I was kind of busy for the last week and I saw it today only when I was preparing.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll reply your message later on, all right? Or
Okay.
have you already fixed it?
No, not yet.
Okay, okay. Then
Okay.
I'll check it out and I'll reply after the class. So, about the midpoint axis drawing algorithm. So, how is it gonna look and how are we gonna draw it? So, we have a formula that works for every circle lines, and there's differences with the ellipse line and straight. I mean, circle line. I mean, normal circle line. If you see on the picture over here, can you see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
if you see on the picture on the right side, on at the black side, you see black circle lines and red, blue, black circle lines. I mean, because if you see at the midpoint, it's kind of coming black, but it's not a black. It's mixed with the red, right? So how are you gonna draw it? So, well, if you remember from our last lecture, we draw a straight line from the x-axis and y-axis, right? So this is going to be something like this is x-axis, this is y-axis, and we draw a straight line from here to here, right? If you can see my screen and my mouse. So we draw a line from there and here. So this is going to be x-axis and y-axis. We draw straight line, something like that, and this is gonna be uh, circle line. So we're gonna draw from another point to next point. All right, and so how is it gonna be? How is it gonna work? You don't see here. It's not just circle line. It's 259 circles over here. If you see, but it's really small lines. Over here it's 259 and over here 259. So, but it's different color. So we're gonna practice these lines for today, and it can be determined where to stop because when y-axis and it has reached when it has reached in 45 degrees. The reason using the angles of circles, right, from x-axis and y-axis. And apart from that, we're gonna rise. I mean, when we are coding, we're gonna rise the um, from line to line, the circle from the line 0 to 45 degrees, and we're gonna see how it's gonna work. So we're gonna rasterize the lines. We're gonna see two different rasterizations, which is rasterizations for the RGB and rasterization for the CMYK. All right. Oh, my apologies. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can't see my screen, and I'm having a little bit trouble with the. Oh my god. Okay. Oh my god. What is happening here? Okay. Oh, let me turn off my program. Give me a second. Never mind. Um, just later. Never mind. Never mind. Anyways, moving on to the next slide. Over here, you see the objectives of the algorithm is to apply to the curves. So from the x2 applies to y2 equals to r2. So if you see on the picture from our last lecture, we draw a straight line over here. We draw a straight line of, I mean, we learned how to draw a straight line. And for now, we're gonna learn how to draw a circle line from point 0 to point degree of 45, then above. All right. And so the formula of the drawing a circle line. Who are you guys? I mean, who has a mic is on? Because I'm hearing my voice back. Can you guys turn off your microphone? Or is it myself who's talking?
I think it's yourself.
Myself. Oh, okay. Never
Yeah.
mind. Moving on. Okay. The formula is to, you can see over here that where you can use formulas for the each point of following holds, and this can be arranged the result, how we can arrange the results, right? And in the line span of terms and pixels should be approximate to the distance from the center, right? So uh, how this is working is that from the line 0 over here, it's calculating the the circle itself from the line 0. From here, it goes here, and the circle should be something like this. So we're gonna practice this on our tutorial for the next class, all right? Um, oh, so algorithm is very similar to a midpoint line generation of the algorithm. Here we can see how the code is going to look like, and how we're going to practice our code in our next tutorial. All right. The boundary of the condition, where the midpoint lines inside, outside, and all that. And, because in the centuries function of the function for the sphere, where you saw on our last slide, is a function for the circle with the radius depending on the z point, I mean z point, or where the third variable is. All right. It stands for to the reason that the algorithm for the discrete of voxel uh, and sphere would be also rely on this midpoint circle algorithm. All right. But when looking at the sphere, the integral radius of the some adjacents and circle is it's gonna be the same, but it is not accepted to the same exact circle adjacent to itself. But in the same hemispheres. Instead, a circle of the same radius need different determinations to allow the circle to come in slightly closer to the center, all right? Or extend out, maybe extend out a little bit further, okay? The algorithm, how it's gonna work. Okay, the first direction here is going to be a basic vector of the generation increasing in values is is going to be like a y direction. All right, the algorithm always takes a step in the positive y direction, like upwards, and occasionally, like let's say, takes a step in the slow directions. The negative is going to be x direction. All right. From the circle equations is obtained to the transit equation, like x uh, 2 plus y2 minus r2 equals to 0, where r2 is communate only once during the initializations, right? Um, let's say the point on the circle The point on the circle is going to be sequence of the coordinates of the vector to the point from point to point in the usual basics. The point, let's say, like points are going to be numbered according to the order which drawn within the Formula One assigned to the first point, which is going to be R or 0. All right. For each point following holds the formula. As I say, x equals x2 equals n plus y2 equals n, and equal that all equals to r2, which is going to be show you this formula over here. Okay, and over here on the picture you can see how it is calculating. I mean, it, you don't see it unless you zoom in, but on the rasterizations, it's going to look something like that, because you have something like pixels over here. This is going to be a pixel, but your line goes from one point to another, something like that when you're drawing a circle. And over here you can see the formula when we're gonna code, so we're gonna put something like this in the future. Okay, moving on to the next program. You see, we are donating something like donations, but it's not directly donations of the f with the p value of the p calculated at the midpoint. Okay, if we take, let's say, over here, please, if we take x minus 0.5 and y plus 1, it's going to be something like this. I mean, the line is going to be going something between, I mean, when you're drawing, so it minuses from the x, but it pluses from the y-axis, I mean, for the each pixel. All right. So this is how we're going to code on our practice, I mean, tutorial class. This is kind of your tips for the next class. Let's say. Okay. And moving on to, just give me a second. Okay. Moving on to the next slide. So this is going to be a bit difficult for you to read unless if you can read already. Can you guys read this code? I mean,
Oh, I think yes.
okay. Can you explain me what is it here?
Well, just a moment. Let me like read
No,
it
no,
a bit.
take your time. Take your time. It's all right.
I'm actually not sure, but these are like calculations of the midpoints or something like this. As
Yeah.
it's written in the comment right there.
This is kind of the, it's calculating the midpoint from 0 to point of the circle 45 degrees. So this is how it is drawing a circle midpoint circle line. So in order to calculate, I mean, computer to calculate your circle, so this you have to give them a formula. Which formula are you going to use, and how you're gonna go through this uh, path. All right. So over here, you can, if you can see this line of codes. I mean, 4 line of codes. This is I mean, it's telling the computer how to calculate and from where to start and from where to end, right? I mean, until where to finish. So it goes from midpoint 0. If we take this midpoint 0, I mean, from y-axis to x-axis, I mean, x-axis to y-axis, I mean, so it calculates from the midpoint 0 over here, and it comes to 45 degrees, and it goes something like this. I mean, the circle itself. All right. So, but we're gonna practice. We're gonna, I mean, go into this. I mean, the explanation more when we go to practicing. All right. So it's gonna be for the next class in next week. All right.
Okay.
Okay. This is how points gonna calculate and plot it to the R20 on the x-axis. The initial value of the P calculates as following. So P1 equals to R02, 05, 2 plus 01, and minus R2. So it's going to give our rounded corners. And when straight line goes a bit curvy, not round, but it's going to be a bit curvy. So what, let's say, like, what we're going to put in. So radius is going to be a 3, and the, from point 0 to point 0. So we don't give numbers. So output is going to be something like up below of the code. All right. So if we give from center minus or equal, I mean the bigger sign, and it's going to give us a bit curvy, but it's not going to complete the circle itself. All right. And the formula over here, if you can see on the below of the samples, so how we supposed to code our coding, all right? If we give a bit higher numbers of the radius, uh, it's going to calculate something like between 4 and 2, because on the top we were giving between 0 to 3, right? But it's going to be a bit smaller. But if we give uh, higher higher numbers, it's going to give us a bit bigger circles. All right. So this is how we're gonna work with it. So moving on to the midpoint eclipse drawing. So eclipse drawing is gonna be a bit. It's not gonna be a circle, but it's gonna be eclipse. I mean, eclipse circles. So it's a bit not embedded. I would say something like squished. Squished circles, all right? Anyways, So have you guys understood the circle signs?
I
Hello?
think in practice it will be more understandable. I mean, more clear. It's understandable now, but like the way it works will be more clear
Yeah, it's a
when
bit
we'll have
it's a
practice.
bit difficult than straight lines because we are drawing not from exactly from 0 to let's say 5, but we're drawing from 5 to 10. I mean 5 minus to 5, 10, 5 plus. All right. So it's a bit difficult as you see. So can you see my screens?
Yes.
Yes.
I've how can I say? I have already signed in from my phone, mobile phone, but I can't see anything because it's just showing me a white screen. That's why I'm keep asking, right? Okay. Okay. Now I can see my screen. Okay, the midpoint drawing lines. The midpoint eclipse algorithm is plots to find eclipse first uh, correlation of diving correlation into the regions. All right. The initial point of the eclipse midpoints, right, is going to be almost the same with the circle drawings, but it's going to be a bit different than circle itself because um, I've given a formula of the eclipse, but it's a bit different than circle side. I mean circle eclipse. I mean circle drawing, but they both gonna work almost the same. Uh, it's not exactly circle, but it's eclipse size. So the decision parameters, if you see over here, I've given a formula how it's going to work and how we're going to practice on drawing the line. And I'm going to show you what's going to be output and input. I mean, what we have to place in order to take out the output, right? The output, what we're going to over here on the picture that I've placed, you see from the region 1 to region 2. Um, so this is going to be a region 1, so P1. And P2 is going to work from, I mean, it's the other way around. I mean, like, I'm going to explain it later, but so P1 is going to be a region 1 and P2 is going to be a region 2. So how this is going to work, um, from point 0, it's going to calculate to, let's say, point -5, but it goes to +6. So when we are getting the output, it's going to work something like, if you've seen here, so from 6 to 4, right? So it's going to work something like 6 to 2, maybe. So you get uh, eclipse drawing, right? So it's gonna work with the negative sides, not the positive side, but with the negative sides. All right. So the midpoint algorithm is gonna work something like from if we give P1 to K bigger than a 0. So you see over here, when if we are working with the plus here, but we work with the minus here for the eclipse. So it's going to calculate from the left to right, not from the right to left. For the circle drawing, it's going to work with the plus, which is over here. Are you guys following up?
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
So anyway, it's gonna be more interesting, not interesting, understandable when we are practicing, but still keep it up, right? So taking out the radius along with the x-axis and y-axis and obtain the center of the eclipse. The initial we assume eclipse to be centered at the origin and the first point as x, y 0. I mean from the y 0 point and equals 0 and ry. So if you see in here, over here, we don't, I mean, you don't see any R sign, right? But when we are coding on the computer itself, it will calculate with the, I mean, it has a R, I mean, to separate from plus, minus, and positive, negative, all right? So, and then obtaining the initial decision parameter for the region 1 as P10, I mean 1, 0, it's not a 10, but 1, 0, equals to RY2 plus 1. This is gonna be a formula for you guys. I mean, I'm giving a little bit tip of for the exam, and you will be asking, my apologies, you will be asked, I mean, not asked, I mean, question about these formulas. So it's better for you to memorize or write it down for the future notes. All right. So for every xk position in region one, you are getting this formulas. So how it's gonna work and calculate the um, calculate with the circle. I mean eclipse points. All right. Else next point is gonna be xk. I mean scores and like xk plus one and yk plus one. I mean minus one. So um, if midpoint goes from um, xy plus one and yx plus one, but on the eclipse it goes positive to negative or negative to positive, but it's going to work other way around. But you can do this only with one way, not both ways or separate ways. All right. So it's better for you to choose one. I mean, not go around and play around. If yeah, you can play around, but for your own experience. All right. The obtaining initial value in region 2 is going to use last point of the x0 and y0 of the region 1 as P20, I mean 20 equals to RY2. And it goes on with the formulas if you see over here. Okay, at each yk in the region 2 starting at k equals to 0, perform the following task. Okay, else gonna be a next point with something like, let's say, P1k and equals, I mean, bigger than 0. But if you think about it logically, it's not bigger than 0 because it's P2, I mean, but it's negative. So if it is negative, then 0 is going to be a positive because it's not on the side of the plus or minus. It's at the, I mean, 0 point. I mean, it's nowhere. It's between positive and negative. So we're going to take it as a positive. So when it goes to plus, we don't use this formula because it's not going to work. So either way, it's going to be a positive positive or positive negative. But it's going to work with the one way. I mean, so you have to choose a one way to work with. I mean, out in algorithm when you are building up a database or or functions of the algorithm. Like if let's say if you are going this direction and you get the point where you have to go back and do it again, but you cannot do, I mean, you cannot repeat this you cannot go back. I mean, you have to either jump into another line and go from there, or jump into like maybe on the top of where you're going and continue following. So this is gonna be your algorithm, your way of solving your algorithm, right? So if you see programmers on big companies, they have their own way of solving algorithms, and I mean, um, not the algorithm itself, but the problems. We, for those who doesn't understand this algorithm stuff, they see it as a problem. So it's kind of problem, but for you it's a path. I mean, correct path for your logical algorithm. All right. So when you're building up with a database or um, backend side, I mean games, maybe websites or applications itself. So you have to choose one way of solving this your problem. All right. Moving on, repeating step of the region one unit and RY and two. So this is gonna be your formula as well. So you have to choose one of these four or five the formula you can use, all right? But each one works for different way of solutions. But sometimes it may not work for your solution, but you can choose one of those for your solutions, all right? Any questions?
Just interested, how will this work? How much code,
Apologies?
line of code so should we need?
Can you speak louder?
I'm sorry. I'm just interested, how much lines of code will we need when
Uh,
we'll go,
that you
when we're going to practice?
thousands and millions of codes. But you see, when you're coding, you will not be coding on a one file. I mean, not with one file. You will be coding with the thousands of files with the thousands of codings. All right, because if you work with one file of the coding, let's take drawing line CS, and you have over there uh, different lines of coding and with the different lines of drawings. Like let's say you have a straight line, you have circle line, you have square line, you have eclipse line. No, it doesn't work like that, because you see, when you're building up with the algorithm and solution and database, you have to place all your codes in separate folders. Let's say you have functions where just uh, just to be logical, right? To for you to understand, you have um, not order. You have task to make this work. You have to draw a line and you have to draw a circle. But when you click, let's say when you click line, just take it as a line. When you click line one and line two, okay, you have two buttons. When you click line one and line two, you for the line one you must have a straight line, but for line two you have must circle line, right? But how to solve it? It's your problem. When you're coding and at the back end, all right? Oh, hello?
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
No. Sorry. I was signed out from my Zoom account, all right? I was cut it out. Anyways, when you are coding, you must have in separate folders. Let's say it's two way of logical how you're solving. Let's say, but you will have at least three or four files. Let's say CS and CSS, and for the buttons, let's say maybe HTMLs or maybe GS files. All right, you must have at least four files in order to show only two separate lines. For the straight line, you will code one code for the straight line with algorithm. And for the circle code, I mean circle line, you will code at least one file. So you will have two separate folders for two separate functions. Because if you place everything in one file, it's going to be a bit mess over there. And when you uh, when you are using those functions with the one file, because you have to show it. I mean, you have to hide it first in order to show it. I mean, with the logical person. I mean, for those who's gonna use your functions. Let's say he likes to see how you draw a line of, I mean, straight line. When he clicks it or she clicks it, uh, the straight line must pop up. All right. So you're hiding two functions, but it is there, but they don't know it. So this is how you're going to work with the codings and files. You will have tons of millions and tons of codes and maybe like hundreds and few more hundreds of files in order to complete one project. If you've seen I mean games files, let's just like game files. Have you ever seen or calculated how many thousands of files over there? I mean CS files, GS files, C
No,
files.
I saw many, but never thought that it should be programmed like each of them.
No, no, no. It is like that. That's why they take like a year or two to complete one game. And it's not one person who codes there. It's like maybe few hundred person, I mean coders, who codes every single line and every single vectors and rasters separately. They code day and night. It's true. It's not easy, but it's great payback for you for your knowledge. I mean, like they pay a lot. I mean, like it's enough for you. But it's worth it because when you complete one project, you will say, "Oh, I did this project? Did I just complete it?" So it's the feeling of the completing that project is gonna be like how can I say it? Not timeless, priceless. It's gonna be like priceless because you're gonna feel that you've done it. You've taken the part of this project and you did it. So it's great knowledge for you and great experience for you. You know, the feeling you will never sell this feeling and you can never buy this feeling. So even though when you're doing small project for yourself in for your practice, or when you finish and you get the result, you will feel, oh, I did it. Yes, I did it. You know, this feeling, but it's gonna be greater, but it's still worth it, you know. It's still worth it of taking time, taking effort, taking your sleeps. I mean, like you don't sleep, right? Taking your patience. It's worth it actually, because when I started as well, it was like great experience for myself, and this was like when I complete my first project. It wasn't big project, but it was a small project, but it paid off, you know. It paid off. I mean, not big amount, maybe it was big amount for me, but not for those who's been working for like several years and with experience. But it paid off, you know. Like first project, yeah, I wasn't much experienced, but I sold this project, and it was like, oh, my first earned money by myself. Yeah, maybe it's true. I wasn't working alone. I was with my partner, but we both were like very happy, you know. And this was our first project. So the feeling that uh, you complete your first project is priceless. So it's worth it to taking your time. So
Okay, I see.
you get what I mean? I'm sorry, I got a bit carried off, but you know, I just remembered the time when I was like studying and working together. So yeah, it was good time. Now I'm giving lectures about my codings. So it's good. Yeah, it's good experience for myself and remember those times when I was studying as well. So any more questions?
Not lessons from lesson. Isn't I will be understand more where I will practice this all the time.
Sorry, your internet connection was bad. I couldn't hear you properly. Can you repeat it?
Yes, yes. Do you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Uh, I think now not listen from lesson now, but it will be more understandable to the practice to the next
Yeah,
lesson.
yeah, yeah. We're gonna practice for the next class, and please be prepared. And I'll prepare by myself as well because last time we were having trouble. Oh my God! Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I was signed off from my account again. Anyways, so we were having a problem getting output because I was using my friend's laptop, and I'll prepare those um, troubles which we were having in our last section. But yeah, we're gonna practice, and please be prepared and install your programs, softwares, and plugins which you needed in order to get output. For those who missed out our last class, please install Visual Studio or Sublime Text or any other um, editors, code editor softwares, and we're gonna start it. All right. Any more questions? So we have still time, and you guys still have time as well to give me some more questions. Come
I
on, guys.
think now like everything was clear for the
Okay.
lesson.
Okay. So we're gonna finish up so early.
Well, actually, yeah, may I ask one question?
Okay.
Where will we need these like drawings of circles, ellipses, and like lines?
You mean which project or?
No, I mean like yeah, where are we going to use it? Like for example, I know.
Yeah, you see, this is not where you're gonna use it. This is kind of your first basics of the coding of the C and C sharp, right?
Oh, so
And
it's just like for us to understand the way the code
yeah,
works, the
yeah, yeah,
language works.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe you do understand, but there are some students who doesn't yet. It's good for you to understand and know how to code. Maybe not the basic, but with the, you are intermediate. Yeah, maybe uh, some guys wanna talk to you and learn from you, right? Maybe I don't have a time, but you do, and you may help them out. But as from my understanding, I think most of you are just the beginners. So you may not like what you're doing. I mean, what you're drawing a line, just a single line, and you're drawing with the code, and you want to do something more and something much better projects or learn how to code as a professional. But you know, as long as you start from the beginning, from the zero, it's gonna be easier when you reach to the 100 because I've started with the let's say I didn't start it from the zero. I mean, when I was studying, I started from 0 100 to be honest, not the zero itself, but the minus 100. I mean, not 0 100, minus 100, and it was very hard for me to reach that zero because back then we weren't having internet. We didn't had any sources. We had only books, and we had only friends who can help, but not for free, but for money. And you had to spend your time going over the from town to another town and just to learn one line of code, just to see the one line of the code, and not to remember once you get back home and try it out. You may not remember it, so you would have to ask again and go to his office or his work and wait for him to get free. So it's not, you may not like it. Of course, I do understand, but for you guys, it's going to be a great experience because once you started from zero and from the basic itself, it's going to be easier for you because some people still doesn't know what is the percent line, right? I didn't know it at the time when I was like studying, all right? I didn't knew it. Nobody taught me on the school or in the college when I was studying. I started with coding after I completed my college, and it was like very hard for me to understand what was going on. It was like it took me almost a year to understand what was the referential line and what was the coding and how to use it. So maybe you would not like it, but once you come until the time you complete your bachelor's or your degree, you will get at least maybe it's up to you guys. If you guys are practicing after the class, it's great for you. If you're not, then you will have to catch up after the college. So I will suggest you guys to practice more. You don't understand, you have a question, please contact me, email me, call me, ask me. You have a source, you have free source. I mean, yeah, maybe you're paying to the university, but you have free sources which you can ask anything you want. There is no limit for you guys. You have internet, you have Telegram, you have an email. We didn't have it back then. We didn't knew that what was the emails. Yeah, we knew it, but we never used it. All right. So time is yours, guys, and you have a lot of communication skills. You must have a little bit communication between yourself, even though you just met at the Zoom. Hmm, maybe like invite somewhere, talk to each other, learn, discuss about the class, discuss about the course, the formula that I gave. Practice together, guys. So it's gonna help you. Any more questions? But I heard you guys, you have to you have to catch up with your English practice, right? So if you guys wanna practice more your English, you can speak out and don't be shy. I won't laugh at your accent or something, but you have to practice more. Not only for your English, but for your coding skills.
I think there will be no more questions.
Ah, is that it?
Everything's clear.
Yeah, I know everything is clear, but is that it only? Okay, okay. Then, are we ready to finish it up?
I think yes. But I'm not
So,
sure, maybe others are sleeping.
others, if you guys can hear me, then please place a plus sign and we can finish up our class for today.
Yes, we can finish. We understand everything.
Do you? Maybe you can explain what you have understood.
I understood that we need to practice more.
No, not that. What we have passed in our lecture, not that.
because these formulas are difficult for me. Really, I need to practice more and learn about these formulas more.
If you
I don't have an idea about the formulas because I started from the making the websites, I start from this HTML or this one, but this architecture and graphics are more difficult. I see.
if you started, then you must have at least a bit of knowledge to know.
Yeah,
Well,
as you
we
know,
what the backend is, right?
yeah, as you know, in a HTML is easy to make this circle, but this you explain the how to make
you
this
don't,
ellipse
uh,
from.
you don't do it. You don't do a circles in HTML. You do it in CSS, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Am I right?
yeah, yes.
Yeah. We have passed this HTML CSS coding as well back when I was studying, but you see, you don't necessarily must do a circles in a C sharp, but you can as well use it as a backend source.
Mm.
So this computer graphics of algorithm is to you to understand how the algorithm is going to work at the backend.
Backend, yeah, the
Yeah,
backend, yeah.
it doesn't necessarily need to be a line or image, but
Yeah.
you can use this algorithm in order to, I mean, to create the games. I mean, not the Unity games, maybe you
Mm-hmm.
can use it for some parts, but still, you must understand how it's gonna work. I mean, for the
Yeah,
game.
sure,
Yeah.
sure.
If you guys don't have any questions, we can finish it up, but we still have time.
Mm.
Hello.
Maybe you will add this our pending time in the next lesson because we will have a practice, right?
Sure, no problem. I may, but if you guys can still be quiet and don't ask questions, I'm gonna mark you as fail.
But what if we don't have any more questions?
Now, maybe you two don't have any more questions because you have already given. But how about others? Don't be a positive. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. It's up to you guys because you are the one who need to gain a knowledge. I'm not. I must give you a knowledge, not gain from you. So it's up to you guys. Anyways, if you guys don't have a question, then we can finish up a little bit earlier. Then yeah, I will see you on the next class. So be prepared. I'm gonna squeeze you. All right.
Thank you. Thank you for the lesson. Have a
Yeah.
nice
Thank you
day.
for listening.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye. Keep in touch. Yeah.
Yes.
Practice.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Teacher, I have a. If you
Yeah.
have some time, I have some. It was not from lesson, but from other project in Python. If you have some time now.
Yeah, we can. You can message me on the Telegram, so I'll be available until I will have half an hour. So you just message me on the Telegram, then I will reply you over there. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, teacher.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.